Alright guys, so I am back to talk about parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting lines. In the last video I discussed what a line segment, ray, and point are was. And now we're going to talk about parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting lines. So let's talk about the first one, which is the one that's normally easier to understand, and that's a parallel line. What is a parallel line? Well, a parallel line is just two lines that never touch. Understand that these are lines. They're lines that never touch. So these lines never, ever, 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 ever touch. They never, ever, ever touch. So what are some examples of a parallel line? Well, I'll give you one right here. This side and this side of my whiteboard will never touch. These are parallel lines. This side and this side will never touch. Why? Because in the parallel lines, the distance between the top and the bottom, or the beginning or the end, are the same. If the distances are the same, they will never touch, they'll never meet. So think about when you're driving in a car with your parents and you see the yellow lines in the middle of the road. Those two yellow lines will never touch. They're parallel, they're equal. The distance between them are equal. They will never, ever, ever, ever touch. Some examples. This, I'm not like terribly perfect at it, but they will never, ever, 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 ever touch. Okay, so these are two lines, two or more, because you can have more than two, that will never touch. They are equal distance from each other. And non-example is this. If you give me a line that looks like this, no, they're not touching. No, they're not touching. However, what if I was to continue this line? What if I was to say, hey, Hunter, continue this line. Let's draw some dotted lines to continue. If I was to do that in the direction that they're in, remember, lines are infinite. That means they go forever in directions. Obviously, we don't have a forever amount of paper, so I can't show you forever. But for this, I can just go ahead and say, well, let's pretend like this goes forever. So this one was blue. Let me do red. And if I was to that wasn't quite straight now, was it? So, do you see that? Why are these parallel? Why are these not parallel? Because at some point, they will touch. It may not be on your paper. It may not be something that you're able to physically see them touching. But these distances are not equal. Obviously, this distance here is smaller than this distance here. So eventually they will touch. It's not equal. Distance between them are not equal. So eventually they will touch. They are intersecting. They intersect or meet at this point, okay? It's sort of like, you know, when we say don't walk in a straight line in the hallway. When we tell you guys that, imagine if someone was kind of walking to the side. Eventually, they may not run into you right now, but they will. So it's just like that, okay? So imagine someone's driving. Just imagine someone's driving down this road and they're going like this, and this person is kind of curving this way. Eventually, yeah, they're going to meet. They're going to hit each other. So that is not a parallel line. A parallel line is when, regardless of how long, regardless of how we decide, how long we decide to continue the line, they'll never meet. So here, you see that? If I was to continue this line, okay? And if I was to continue this line, slipping up my hands, they would never meet. Why? Because they have an equal distance, a relatively equal distance around it, because mine's not completely equal, but it's equal enough to let you know that they'll never meet. So that is the difference. It's the lines on your paper. It's the lines on both opposite sides of this. It's the lines that's on my computer. It's the lines that's on your TV, the top and bottom, and then the sides. Okay? This is your parallel lines. If you think about it, think about touchdown. If you're a football person, touchdown. Those are parallel lines, okay? Let's move on to the next one. The next one that we're going to move on to is perpendicular. Also think of parallel. Parallel has two L's in it. The two L's are, like that. Two L's next to each other in parallel. That's like kind of your cheat to parallel lines. They never touch because there's two L's, and two L's next to each other are parallel to each other. Little cheat. So next one is perpendicular. Perpendicular. Sometimes you have to spell things out slowly to spell it right. Even us adults do it sometimes. So what is a perpendicular line? Well, your key to a perpendicular line is two lines that meet. They definitely meet. They intersect. So in math, when you're in math, you're a mathematician, which means you have to use the language of the standards. You have to use mathematical language. So they intersect at 90 degrees. Well, what is 90 degrees? We talked about 90 degrees before. What is 90 degrees? 90 degrees is what we call a right angle, okay? A right angle is this. It's completely straight on this side, completely straight here. It makes that L. It's a 90-degree angle. A perpendicular line intersects. That means the two lines meet and they intersect at a 90 degree. Your clue that something is a 90-degree angle, or one of your clues, is not always does this happen, but most of the times, not always does it happen when you see it, but when you see it, it is always the case, if that makes sense. If you see this little square like this, that's a perpendicular line. However, if you don't see it, that doesn't mean that it's not. But if you see this, this is a clue that this is a perpendicular line. It is 90 degree. This is a 90-degree angle. It makes a L per se, okay? It makes a L. Yeah, it makes an L because the L kind of goes like that. It's a point. It has a little sharp curve on it, okay? What is an example of a perpendicular? The computer, the edge of your computer, the edge, that's a perpendicular line. These are perpendicular lines. The L in perpendicular lines make that, okay? In the capital letter E, this is a perpendicular. These are two perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines, okay? So, those are perpendicular lines. They have a 90-degree angle. Another name for a 90-degree angle is they make a right angle. And I know you guys are like, what? Right angle? That is the next part of your standard. Know what a right angle is. Knowing the different types of angles. But you have to know this, okay? This is a right angle, okay? So if a lot of that, if we have a street, if I draw a street for you, I'm at 9 minutes. Try not to make it long, guys. I'm trying not to make it long. If I'm going to draw a street here, my drawing skills aren't the best. Sorry for the silence. I'm trying to give you guys a nice little visual here. For perpendicular, just to kind of wrap up perpendicular versus parallel. So what is perpendicular and what is parallel? So to kind of sum this up of these two, so this is our little street. I know this doesn't look exactly like a street, but for all intents and purposes, this is what a street is. Okay? Here, you see both sides of the street. So this is one side, all traffic is going. Where's my double marker? Here it is. The traffic this way. Okay, let me make sure my video is up. Traffic is going this way. Traffic is going this way. I meant to do that blue. I think I messed this up. I think I messed that up, but whatever. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't really matter at this point. Okay, so as you can see, the color coordination. Here's the thing. This one is going this way. The green, traffic's going this way. Traffic's going that way. Will they ever meet? No, those are parallel. But what is perpendicular? Perpendicular is right here. It's that moment when I make that turn, that right turn. It's this moment here, it's this moment here, and it's this moment here. Do you see those? Those are all perpendicular moments, perpendicular lines, okay? This is where we meet, and we meet at a 90-degree angle, okay? This is where we meet at a 90-degree angle. That's not quite 90 because my hand was shaking a little bit. There you go. It meets at a 90-degree angle. That's a 90-degree angle, okay? So our little red circles are our 90-degree points. Our blue and green are parallel. So parallel never meet. Will always be like this. And then think about for like all my sports people, you know, what happens when the coach gets upset and then he wants to have a moment with his people. He goes, timeout, a T. A T is a perfect example. L and T are examples, perfect examples of letters that are perpendicular. A T has perpendicular over here and over here, okay? So T and L are all perpendicular lines. Two L's together, however, two lowercase L's together are touchdown, parallel, two together, parallel. So what is an intersecting line? That is the last one. An intersecting line, well, it's just that. What does intersecting mean? Intersecting just means two lines that touch, okay? It means at some point these lines touch each other. So if we know that parallel means that they never touch, and perpendicular means that they have to touch at a 90-degree angle, then what does intersecting mean? In short, intersecting is any line that touches. So an intersecting line are any lines that touch. They can just touch, okay? It's any line that touches. Any two or more lines that touches. Any two lines that touch, actually. Sorry, it's a little sloppy. So it could look like this. It could look like that. These are examples of intersecting lines. They just touch. It doesn't matter. An intersecting line can be a perpendicular line. For you, however, I need you to understand the difference between a perpendicular and a parallel. And you need to know that what a perpendicular is. It's 90 degrees, okay? The intersecting line is any other line that is not perpendicular. For all intents and purposes right now, what you need to know is that an intersecting line is any line that touches. It does not have to be 90 degrees. If it touches, it's intersecting. If it never touches, it is parallel. And if it touches at a 90-degree angle, it is a perpendicular. So parallel perpendicular, okay? Intersecting can be an X. There you go, okay? So, parallel, perpendicular, intersecting. Because intersecting, it doesn't matter how they cross, they cross. So, X can be your clue. X marks the spot, can be your clue to intersecting, okay? All right, so my 15 minutes is up. Hopefully this cleared it up a little bit for you guys about the different types. I will probably make some notes for you all. I will probably make some notes for you guys all on Seesaw. Please make sure you're on Seesaw. Please make sure that you're doing your Freckle. Make sure that you're on MobiMax, please, and thank you. And I will be giving you guys activities on Seesaw. When I ask you guys to post on the activities tab, that means to go to the activities tab, okay? Look at the activity and actually post the assignment in that activities tab. It makes it a lot easier for me to find the assignment if it is in the activities tab. So you're going to have to go to the activities tab. Look up the assignment. The assignment should be like right there at the top. And then go in, find your name, and post whatever you need to post in that, okay? You have to follow those directions. Anything else you need, feel free to let me know. Miss you guys. Hopefully this digital learning won't last long because I miss you guys. And look out for another video on angles, which will be probably next week, maybe not. But look for another one. Most likely you'll get it on Monday.